good morning, and welcome to the International Mastermind Think and Grow Rich show. My name is Galen Bingham. I am the leadership strategist, and I'm excited. I'm ready to get into this conversation. I see folks coming in. Lakeisha, welcome. Come on in. Okay, so before we get started, there was a question as we were streaming in, as we were getting in, and I want to give you guys to put the answer to that question in the chat. And it's kind of an easy one because I think the question is true or false. Masterminding is the first step to riches. So go ahead and put that in the chat. Is that true or is that false? And it's kind of an easy question because it's actually kind of in the title screen for this show. So again, give you a moment to put some questions put some answers in the chat, because this is going to be an amazing show. We have not only some amazing co-hosts that come on every single week. We've got Dr. Mariama Williams is a yoga instructor. She's a meditation expert. Anything you want to know about connecting your inner with your outer and making sure everything is in alignment, this is going to be the person that's going to provide that insight. But Teresa, Dr. Raquel, everyone has identified that no, the answer is false. That the masterminding is not the first step in riches. It's actually the 9th step in riches. But boy, I tell you, one of the things I identified was on the first page in the chapter of the blue book that we're all reading. Napoleon Hill mentions power 12 times. Several of those times they're bold, they're underlined. So power is a big part of this process. And power, you get your power from the mastermind process. So although it's not the first step, oh my gosh, if you're talking about adding power to your life, adding power to your success, if you're not using a mastermind, I don't know what you're doing. So let me go ahead and bring in my co-host, Dr. Peter James. You and I had an interesting conversation about power before today's show. Come on into the conversation and continue sharing your points about power.
Galen, good morning to you, sir. Good morning, everyone who is listening. My name is Dr. Peter A. James, helping you to shift your mindset. And the shift I'm asking you all to think about, per what Galen has just mentioned here, is oftentimes when we hear the word power, we think of it from a negative perspective. Because the examples that are provided to us on TV, on social media, of politicians, of CEOs, are not always the best as it relates to power. However, in this text, Think and Grow Rich, chapter 9, Power of the Mastermind, if you don't have a copy, you have to pick it up right now. We'll make sure that we put a link in the chat. But in it, he says, power is essential for the success in the accumulation of money, right? But he also goes on to say it is necessary for the retention of it. And oftentimes, again, as I talk to clients, I am finding out ways of how do you feel disempowered? Because sometimes the world has a way of trying to disempower us, strip us of our power. But now we're asking you today, how do you take that power back? Not even just from the financial perspective, but just in your life in general. Galen, it's going to be a great show. I don't know about you, but it's going to be phenomenal.
I'm ready to get into it. I can't wait. When we talk about power, there's actually only one name that comes to mind, like the first name that comes to mind, and that is Pegeen. Because, you talk about a powerhouse. I think she has so much power, she turned her hair white. So come on in, Pegeen. Welcome to the show and share some of that power.
I'm telling you, I'm here going, power. Da, 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 that's what we got. Da, 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 da. I'm so first, how awesome that I get to wake up and be with the three of you to feel and be infused with the power of our mastermind, the power of here's what I know about masterminding and power. When we are together, our own individual selves start getting powerful. We could feel this energy coming up. We feel this excitement about being together. And then we also connect with the power, the force, the ability that we're tapped into something so in alignment with what we're feeling that our unity becomes even more powerful. And I want to just stress something with everybody. There is your inner power. There is your connective power, which comes together in Mastermind. And then it is you being connected with the universe of power. We are all, there's water, there's oceans, all of that. We are a droplet. We are like water. We are the water. We are connected. And a lot of times we just let our own internal power kind of go to the side. We don't think that the negative thoughts that we might have impact our results. And yet that's power. Wow, our negative thoughts impact the results that we have. That's power. And your positive, uplifting, determined, focused, desirous, faith-filled thoughts are also power. Now, I'm going to bring in my friend Anne, because I have to tell you, every time I'm around this woman, and you all have been there, when she comes on, she's like this quiet, deep hum of power, like a massive generator of power. And I want everybody to experience it. So come on and give us some power, baby.
Sounds like you're looking for something that is coming from a spiritual force. Sounds like to me. This is physical here.
That's
And
right.
like say, good morning, everybody. And yes, this is Ann McNeil, the Master Builder, helping to build stronger, better lives and businesses. And I don't know if there's a more powerful principle in this set of principles than the power of the mastermind concept. And Napoleon Hill tells us that in order for you to be powerful in your mastermind, because remember this program, this podcast is about mastermind groups for groups. And we're here to share with you the power of that. But you must have two things. One, you must have like-minded individuals in your mastermind group, and you must have like-spirited individuals in your mastermind group if you expect to have great power. And great power brings great riches. And so let's bring on our special guest as we listen to her talk about her mastermind experience.
So, Dr. Mariama, we've got to bring you on. This is one of those. Let's go ahead and put her on the screen, because this is one of those conversations, and I think Pegeen served it up nicely, where we all have our own sense of inner power, where we can make things happen. We can put on the grind. We can work really, really hard and create almost anything that we want. And then we've got this external power, this infinite power, this spiritual power, where there's certain rhythms to nature. There's certain rhythms. There's certain currency and a current that's going on around us. And boy, I tell you, that's really, really powerful. But the real energy comes when you connect the two, when you are in alignment. And I can't think of a better person to guide us through this conversation than you. Talk a little bit about your background, but just this idea of the power driven, or the power created by a mastermind.
Good morning. Good morning. Am I live? Can you hear me? Okay, because I'm not hearing anything through these things. I'm not sure why I have them on. But as long as you can hear me, that's fine. So thank you so much. Welcome, welcome everybody. Welcome all the guests who have tuned in from wherever. Good morning, good afternoon, good night. Thank you, Anne, and my co-host and the organizer of the show, the producer. Thank you so much, MasterMind, for this wonderful opportunity. So I am Mariama Williams, and I don't know where to say. I've been masterminding now since about 2008, 2007. My date's not so precise anymore in my head. Um, I am an economist by training, and I've worked professionally as an economist for the last 20 something years. And 2 years ago, I went off to study yoga therapy and got a master's of science in yoga therapy, and then making that transition. So, like many people, some influenced by the pandemic, some influenced by life changes or different needs have surfaced at different life cycle age, or is now into a new career. It's new and not so new. It's new in the sense that I'm dedicating my full-time effort and my full attention and awareness and intention around it. But actually, I've been a yoga teacher. I've been a meditation teacher since 2001, certified by Deepak Chopra at Chopra Center out in, at that point, it was in La Jolla with Dr. David Simon. And then I became a yoga instructor, teaching what's called 7 spiritual laws of yoga. And also later on, a Bikram yoga instructor. So now I've decided to become a yoga therapist. And yoga therapy is like applying the tools of meditation, mindfulness, posture, yoga ethics, yoga psychology, yoga philosophy, to helping people to maximize their potential, to address whatever chronic challenges, health and physiological challenges that they might be might be experiencing, and to live a more fulfilled and rewarding life. The MasterMind, a Reading, Think, and Grow Rich, has really enhanced my life and helped me to fortify myself to make this transition, which I've been trying to make since I first became aware that I really was interested in understanding the connection between the mind and the body, and what propels us, what compels us to go forward, even when circumstances are changing. And I think even more for many of us now, this pandemic, this virus, which in the word of one psychologist, I think it was Dan Siegel or Rick Manson, says, this pandemic is stress testing us. Stress testing, after the financial crisis, all the banking institutions had to be stress tested, theoretically. Well, we're getting our first broad spectrum stress test as humanity, because there are many more things coming out there. If you look at the scientific predictions and the futurists, there's climate change, as we know, for many of us who live in different vulnerable areas. We're on a serious threat of increased hurricanes and other kinds of natural and not so natural forces. We have more pandemics awaiting us. If you think this was bad, you got us. So in this context, we have to fortify mind, body, spirit, and soul. And I go back to the principles of Think and Grow Rich, right? If you remember the 13 principles of Think and Grow Rich: desire, faith, auto-suggestion, specialized knowledge, imagination, organized planning, decision, the mastery of procrastination, something I'm still working on, persistence, power of the mastermind, the mystery of sex transmutation, the subconscious mind, which is where some of my training becomes, and the brain, and of course the sixth sense. Now the brain has been the subject of a lot of research, and so one of my interests in Think and Grow Rich is, what is the science saying? What is neuroscience saying about the principles and the argument laid down by Napoleon Hill?
I'll tell you, that's a perfect setup for Dr. Peter James, because Dr. Peter, I want you to talk about those 13 steps that Dr. Mariama boy, it is going to get complicated saying doctor every other second. I got some smart folks hanging with me, right? So, but Dr. Peter, go ahead and talk to us a little bit about all 13 principles, because they do connect together and they do really highlight the significance of the mastermind.
Yeah, Galen, such good stuff, Mariama. Thank you so much for helping to lead in these 13 steps. So again, as I mentioned earlier, If you had not had a chance to pick up Think and Grow Rich, it's got to be on your must reads as soon as possible. Why? Because in this book, Napoleon Hill talks about 13 steps, 13 principles to success. And even though the title of the book is Think and Grow Rich, it's not even just about rich from a financial perspective, but it's a rich from a life perspective. How can you live a rich life? And these 13 steps really identify steps. And of course, this mastermind one is such an important one today that we're going to dive into. I know we're talking about power, but in order to get this power, you need organized effort. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And the organized effort comes from others. So let me not get too deep. Let's go ahead and watch this video.
Number 1 is desire. Napoleon Hill said that everything starts with a burning desire, a compelling reason for doing what it is we do. Step 2 is faith, having belief in our ability to attain that which we desire. Step 3 is what we call autosuggestion. Autosuggestion simply means being very intentional about the things that we are pouring into our thoughts, into our brains, and into our consciousness. Our brains, our minds will receive everything automatically, but we have to work extra hard to make sure that the positive things are what we are feeding ourselves, because those positive thoughts are going to turn into positive actions. Step number 4 is specialized knowledge. No one person knows everything, even about whatever their particular area of expertise might be. And the value of the mastermind principle is using the specialized knowledge of other people. Step number 5 is imagination, the workshop of the mind. Everything starts with our imagination and our thoughts, the burning desire to transform those thoughts into our reality. In order to do that, we have to take a look at step 6, which is organized planning. That is how we crystallize our desire into action, organizing ourselves. Having the thought and not acting on the thought isn't going to get us anywhere. We have the thought, we go through the organized planning to transform that thought into action. Step number 7 is decision. What Napoleon Hill said is the mastery of procrastination. Napoleon Hill said that the antidote to procrastination is simply to make a decision and then move on that decision. Step 8 is persistence. We have to have a sustained effort which is induced by our faith in order to achieve our goals. One of Napoleon Hill's books I love, even the title, 3 Feet from Gold. Those people who became rich during the gold rush in the wild, wild west days didn't do that because they were necessarily smarter or had better information than anyone else. It's because they stayed just a little bit longer. Sometimes people left when they were just literally 3 feet from gold. So hanging in there, being persistent, is step number 8. Step number 9, the power of the mastermind, the driving force. None of us can accomplish anything on our own. Everybody, I don't care who you are, from the most prominent person to the person who might be considered the lowest on the totem pole, everybody has someone who helped them get to where they are. And the power of the mastermind is being able to use those influences around us. Use the thoughts, use the knowledge, use the exploration of other people to help us in achieving our goal. Step number 10, the mystery of sex transmutation. This title can be a little confusing, but essentially what the mystery of sex transmutation means is that we oftentimes in our society think of sex as being purely physical. It is absolutely physical, but what Napoleon Hill teaches us is that sex also has an emotional element, and that sex is the strongest of our desires. That if we can take our sexual energy, transform that into positive, creative influences, it can propel us to new heights. And so we spend quite a bit of time talking about the mystery of step 10, which is sex transmutation. Step number 11 is the subconscious mind, which Napoleon Hill tells us is the connecting leap between our human mind and the infinite intelligence, the source of all thought, the source of all creativity. Conscious mind, we spent some time talking about how we use that through the influence of autosuggestion and what we're feeding into our mind. Step number 12, which is the brain, the broadcasting and receiving station of thought. Final step number 13, the sixth sense, the door to the temple of wisdom. This is the final step through which infinite intelligence may and will communicate voluntarily without any effort from or demands by the individual. The principle is the apex of the philosophy. It can be assimilated, understood, and applied only by first mastering the other 12 principles.
Good stuff, Galen. Those are our 13 steps. So let's dive in a little bit more to this conversation, and especially looking like, what does a mastermind look like in your life? That's what I want to know. So Mariama, that might be your first question. What is for the benefit of our audience who may be new to today's show, what is a mastermind for you, Mariama?
Well, that's been adjusting a lot over the course of my life. Right now, in the context of what's going on in the world, of the interlocking crises, economic crises, pandemic and climate crises, for me, a mastermind right now has two critical elements that are necessary. One is resilience, that to be resilient, right? To be physiologically, mentally, emotional, and spiritually resilient. I think resilience means being able to sustain yourself in challenging times. Right? Doesn't mean that you don't get knocked down or you don't have trauma, but you're able to recover quicker. The other, and within that context, is to enhance and stabilize and expand your window of tolerance, right? And window of tolerance within the neuropsychology literature, the window of tolerance is the best state that stimulate where you are, where you live daily, and in which you're able to function, to set your intentions, and to achieve your goal, right? Now, in the literature and in the academic literature, we'll put that in the graph, right? So you're gonna have your X and Y axes. You're gonna have two lines crossed, and in the middle of both lines is the window of tolerance. Now, how narrow that window of tolerance is an indication of your ability to succeed and to be resilient. You want to constantly widen that window of tolerance, right? At the bottom of the window, the bottom part of the window, we have what we call hypoarousal, your ability to respond to hypoarousal. And hypoarousal are when you get numb, situation get overwhelming, you get numb, you get depressed, you're passive, you get withdrawn, you shut down, right? So we have many, in our biology responds to things either by fighting, flighting, or freezing, or faint, right? We now had another category. Or we can go rest and digest, come again, and achieve our goal. So if your window of tolerance is very narrow, you can easily, when things change in wind trip, you go right into hypoarousal. The other state you don't want to get into either. That's hyper, P-E-R, hyperarousal, which is where you get irritable, you get angry, you have high energy, but it's not purposeful. You have anxiousness, you're in fight and flight, right? And the way that it's explained to children, and they get it, is think of this window of tolerance as a river running between two banks, right? So the water in between the two banks is your window of tolerance. And on either banks, you have hypo and hyperarousals. Now, the river, you'll have many things get in the river. You'll have rapids, you will have crocodiles, you might have all kinds of things. And your ability to negotiate that and navigate that is what life is all about. But sometimes the river may narrow, right? And you could slip on one bank or another. You want to keep that river as steady as you can in your personal life. And for me, that's it.
So who do you keep surrounding you? Now, back to the mastermind question now. Who do you keep around you to keep that river on track there, Mariama?
First of all, you have to keep yourself in integral and integrity. That means you have to do what you need to keep your physiological and your mental balance, which means you have to do the normal things that we're told that our parents told us: eat right, drink a lot of water, sleep well, sleep the normal hours that are necessary for you to function. And we know that. We know what those things are. Then we have to do some other things. We have to pray, have a relationship, be odd, have the mysteries and be curious about life, right? And then on top of that, we can do some of the contemplative practices, such as meditation, mindfulness, and breathing, right? Then the second thing is you need a way to keep your awareness always attuned by reading, by dialoguing, by talking to people, and last, social interaction and social connection, right? You need to have those people around you who help you, who build you up, and you build them up. And that's your mastermind group. That's also outreaching, but you also have to have empathy and equanimity. So equanimity is that ability to just steer through. People say, oh, that guy is so cool, right? He doesn't get flustered. Well, he might be not getting flustered, but he might be eating up inside. So we also need to make sure we take, that's why the inside is always the core. You take care of that, right? And then you have to have empathy and equanimity, and you have to listen to persons around you, and then try to work to create social justice. Because it doesn't matter if you're okay. If things aren't around you, you're not okay. If your family's not okay, if the community you live in is not okay. So then you have to look at the environmental, economic, and social justice and do your best to help to keep that growing and to help other people be and achieve what they need.
Good stuff. Pegeen, I know you're bubbling up inside as we're talking about masterminds. We're talking about how to keep your river on track. Pegeen, how do you keep your river on track?
So I'm loving, Mariana, I love the passion and everything that you're saying. I love, I'm looking at the Think and Grow Rich. I'm looking at the power of the mastermind in chapter 9. And it says, organized effort is produced through the coordination of effort of two or more people who work towards a definite end in a spirit of harmony. And I love, Mariama, two things that you shared, and I want to explore with you. First is your own calling to work at getting certified with Deepak Chopra, being involved with his groups. He's looking at a global experience of expansions of the individual. But I know that there are groups within those groups that you're involved with. And I know that you're also in a Think and Grow Rich mastermind. So I'm very curious to ask you, how often do you meet with your masterminds? And then number two, what have you gained from being connected with people who are on the same track? Because I'm guessing at the Deepak Chopra, you're with a group who are all in the same desire of transformation. I hear it in your voice. I hear it in your essence. I feel it in your power. And your own practice would be really helpful for people to understand why you're involved with that, both the Deepak Chopra mastermind, I'll call it that, as with the Think and Grow Rich.
Okay, so I have this interlocking circle of masterminds, grouping that, if you want to call it that, including my cohorts from my master's program, that we meet at least once a month, and we meet on Facebook and we check in with each other. Yes, I'm part of the Deepak Chopra network of teachers, and we also meet once a month, and in between, as we desire to, we do meditation together and we lead various things. And we follow, and I also do run meditations and other. The reason why I'm in the international mastermind, and I'm a part of the Palm Beach Life Planners group of the mastermind and have been since 2008. I take a leave of absence when I was in Geneva, Switzerland for a while, and I came back home and I'm in it. So my sister is a member of the mastermind. My neighbor, Miss Ann McNeil, is down the road, and her wonderful daughter, Ione, is also part of that. And all of my my members, even members who have now moved away, before we all were in the same area, but now we've moved away, we still contact with each other. We meet every Monday morning, 6 a.m. And then we have other encounters throughout the year. We try to get together to do something social, to do various things, to go over our processes and sharing and so forth. And that is a way for me to bind myself to a group. One, it's a group outside of my normal range of activities. They're not economists, they're not yoga or mindful. They're mindful, but they're not mindful expert or any of those. And so I get different stimulation. And I think that's very, very important. important to have, because life goes through change and cycle, and to endure, you have to ground yourself, and you try to ground the good, and to have that reliability in the good. And my mastermind, everybody in my mastermind fundamentally are the most amazingly good people. And I take refuge in that. And that helps me. They push me to take care of myself, to find ways to deal accurately with any kind of accumulation of fears or any kind of slacking off that I may have, which I'm a human being. So even though I do meditation, I teach meditation and yoga and so forth, there are times when I don't want to get up to meditate. And you can talk any yoga person. There are times any yoga there's times that I don't really want to go to do yoga, or I want to, just like exercise. There are days when your body is resistance. But you know, okay, I have my affirmation. I said I'm going to do this every day. I must do this, because you have to be in integrity. You can't go in and pretend to do something that you haven't done. And so these groups keep me accountable on a day-to-day way that the rest of my other groups that I check in with periodically and so forth does not. And they keep me checking professional all the time. But this is day-to-day nitty-gritty. How Mariama live her life? How is Mariama carrying on? My sister will ask me questions. She's a part of my mastermind, and are you doing this? And I think it's very important, because we have, and the beauty and the brilliance of Napoleon Hill is, of course, he started with the first one, desire, and desire is very, very important. But desire is not what we're hardwired with, right? We're hardwired, the older part of our brain, the amygdala, the hippocampus, that hard part of our brain is about survival. It doesn't care what your desire is. It doesn't care if you feel fulfilled or not. It has one mission: to keep you alive, right? So it has a negativity bias. And it's like a negativity bias, which is, we call it default mode network. And that negativity bias is to scan. So always look for the negative, because its job is to find the exit, the survival, and so forth. So we have to work really hard for the positive. And to work really hard for the positive means that you have to constantly practice. You have to constantly engage with partnership, with social interaction, and with people who hold your fire in kindness, huh?
In kindness
and love and generosity.
And I love how you were talking about your mastermind to keep you, focus on the dailiness, because when brilliant people like you, like myself, everybody over here, like Anne, I'm going to bring in, is when we know sometimes we're too smart for our own good, and we need that people to just say, Mariana, where are you going today? Right? And out of such love. Now I'm going to tell you, Mariana, Anne McNeil does this to me often. She has that woman does her smile, but behind that smile, it's like, so Anne, come on in, join this conversation. I'm going to ask you, Anne, so how does your accountability group hold you accountable? Because I know Marianne is in your group. How do you hold each other accountable?
Well, for the first thing, we do meet, like Mariama said, we meet every Monday. And we have a process that we go through, which of course is right above my head, the book, I should say on this side, the book that I wrote on how to start and run an effective mastermind group. And that these experiences came out of our masterminding for years. So Mariama, Doretha, Sharon, her sister, Stephanie, we're all a part of our Palm Beach Mastermind group. And so, like she said, we meet, we have buddies. Yes, we have buddies. We have accountability buddies in our group. And every week, 2 buddies report, and everybody else is there to support. But we're also there to hold each other accountable. And so today is about Mariama. And so, Mariama, I'd like to have you share your experience in your family with your niece. And if you can share with our audience about your niece growing up in a youth mastermind and the impact that has had on her now that she's an adult, 10 or 15 years of masterminding as a youth. And so if you can share that, because I think it's very important as we come on and we talk about the power of the mastermind. we want to also talk about the power of family masterminding together
Mhm.
and also independently of each other for those goals. And I won't get into, family mission statement, all of those things. But can you share, Mariama, the experience that this International Mastermind Association has had on your family as your family's masterminded individually and then collectively?
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Anne. Thank you. I must say, for you should understand something about me. I start a lot of things. I join a lot of things. I'm a joiner. So, but I don't always finish or keep up with the group, right? There's some things that I finish that I'm really dedicated to that I'll finish, but mostly I'll join. But I came into Mastermind with my sister Stephanie. We met Anne together. We were seeking something, and we met Anne, and of course we became part of that. Then we enrolled my other sister into it, and my other sister has our only niece. So she obviously became, at that point, we were also, my sister Stephanie was also participating in helping to organize the youth mastermind. So my niece participated in the youth mastermind. And she was going every Saturday. The youth did their thing. They even went to Better Investing. They did all kinds of, and I'm flagging Better Investment because we come back to that, because she had dropped out of that for a while. And now the other day, she came home and she said, Auntie, we need to have a family investing group. And so we now have a family investing club. And that came out of Mastermind and Better Investing. But she really took to the Mastermind principles. She finished college. She's did a master's. She's now doing a PhD in leadership. And she is just going. And I keep saying, girl, stop, slow down. I said, and after college, I'm like, you should take a year off. She said, no, Auntie, I will take a year off later. I need to finish this. So she did the master's, and now she's doing the PhD. I'm like, really, stop. Take some time off. But she has gotten that bug from me being Mastermind of having your intention, setting clear intention, having your goal, and just keep going on it. I'm trying to get her to relax a little bit more. Now I'm older now. I realize that there is a cost to some of that, and you need to. Sometimes that doesn't show up till much later. But we are very proud of her. Very proud of how she has carried forward. And despite she's tried to carry many of her friends with them, her friends, and many of them have done very well. They've all done. They're in law school, pre-law, whatever. And they're all doing very good. But I'm most proud that she came back with the family investing, because we've been on our own pittering about. And she said, no, we have to have a family investing. We got a family mission. She said, now let's commit how much money we're putting each month. And she's organized the whole thing. I mean, Miss Ann probably doesn't know that, but she is like really going.
Now, Mariama, how old do you remember how old she was when she started with us?
Okay, that was 2008. She probably was about 9 or 10. Exactly. I don't think any older than that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, she was. I remember. And the reason I'm staying here for a moment, we are discussing the power of the mastermind concept. And when you think about power, what can be more powerful to you as you listen to us? And we're talking about masterminding for yourself. We're talking about masterminding in a group of accountability. And we're also talking about being a part of the International Mastermind Association, which is a mastermind organization and association for groups. If you're interested in becoming an individual masterminder, you can talk with Bekin, you can talk with Galen, you can talk with Peter, you can talk with anybody else about, starting and being in a group. But if you want your group to be a part of the IMA International Mastermind Group, think about also having a family mastermind group. And I asked Mariama this question, and she didn't know I was going to ask that, because I've been a part of their family's growth, and many other families, sure. But I would also like to have you, and I know we have to go back to our awesome host, and he has a lot of questions as he prepared to wrap us up. But Mariama, could you also share the power of the accountability for the money in, this is the economic portion, because masterminding has two portions. One is economic and one is psychic. And so Mariama, as you can already see, is all about the psychic. And she knows when we get in our mastermind group, I'm all about the money. So Mariama, do you want to share anything about, that whole idea of the power and the economic side of the mastermind.
Yeah, well, the power, the economic side, of course, we, no matter how we are floating on the psychic and stuff, we need to ground ourselves in the reality of economic life and what's going on. And if we want to really benefit our communities and the people around us, we also need to be able to contribute and help them to grow. So for me, the accountability has been the strongest part about that. And I know Miss Ann can say how many times she's asked, are you monetizing what you're doing? Are you doing it? And I would say, I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready yet. I'm still kind of figuring out what's going on and trying to work through some stuff. So I'm still doing a lot of volunteer stuff, especially since leaving work. And yes, that's that accountability.
Listen, everybody who's listening. You see the inside joke, and I know Doretha on the other side is laughing. She's also laughing. I wish we could have brought her on this. And also your sister Stephanie. Listen, everybody, I think what we should do, and to all of you that's listening, let us hear from you in the chat. I think we should start having a Saturday show at least once a month with mastermind groups, because I think this would be a very different conversation if there were 3 or 4 of us on here from the same mastermind group, along with our co-hosts. And so our co-hosts are also a mastermind group. So join us next week. We'll talk about that as relates to our mastermind, IMA, mastermind masterclass. But anyway, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure, Mariama. I'm going to be respectful of leadership, and I'm going to turn this back over to our awesome, handsome leader, Mr. Galen Bingham.
So, fantastic conversation. I mean, if you guys aren't taking notes, if you're listening to this and you're not contemplating what everyone's talking about, I don't know what you're listening to. So I want to read something to you, and then I want to bring in my co-hosts and ask them to share what they've gotten, what they've received, what's been highlighted to them from this conversation, and then we'll end with Dr. Mariama. This is on page 187, and it says, "This is not a course on religion. No fundamental principle described in this book should be interpreted as being intended or interfere either directly or indirectly with any man's religion or religious habits. This book has been confined exclusively to instructing the reader on how to transmute the definite purpose of desire for money into its monetary equivalent." So this book is really about how do you turn something that you say that you want into its physical reality. And so I want to come back to my co-hosts and ask them, what's something that you've learned or has been highlighted today about how to do just that? How do you turn this thing that you say that you want, your desire, into its physical reality based on something that you've heard today? Dr. Peter, let's go ahead and start with you.
Yeah, Galen, such a great question overall. And I got to go back to what Mariama even mentioned early on. And while we're talking about masterminds today, I think first it's important that you reflect inside what is going on with what's going on inside of you, your mindset, your focus. So if you have adopted this Think and Grow Rich text, how has it shifted you? And then after that, who are you surrounding yourself with in order to move you down that river, to keep you on track? And it's so important because those individuals you surround yourself with are inundating you with positivity, with accountability, with challenges that are going to keep you on that right path. So yes, it is both internal and it is external as well, Galen. So it's a great mix, a great opportunity. And I'm hoping those of you who are listening, those of you who are watching, can really feel and reflect on who that might be for you.
Okay.
Again, what are your thoughts?
Wow. So there's a couple of things that Mariama, I love your passion. I love your knowledge of brain, and I love your vulnerability talking about your family and talking about this 9-year-old who has become this lawyer and ambitious and where she's at. And I'm so grateful that you were able to share the melding of your magnificence and brilliance with the knowledge of being part of a group to hold you accountable so that you receive both economic freedom, the knowledge of bringing everything about you. And all of you made me really go back to, as you were talking, I went to the McNeil Factor workbook. And I got to tell you, I'm going back and I'm reading some of the things that I've written and some of the things that I haven't written. And this is where I walked away with an awareness. I have my processes, but sometimes we need somebody from the outside who asks questions differently so that it could spark your own power within to say, you're ready, you're ready, you're ready. And I'm so grateful that I could be here, Mariam. Thank you so much for just being you. I really, really appreciate the work that you're doing and really appreciate the consciousness raising that you're doing. And I know that Anne loves you too. Right, Anne?
Yes. Yes, 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 yes. Well, I think Mariama knows that by now. I just wanted to, if I may, it's okay. All right. One of the things that Mariama said that was an aha for me when she talked about the river, and where I thought she was going to go with that is what Napoleon Hill shares, which I'll just share real quickly. And thank you so much for the reminder about the river. But Napoleon Hill tells us that when money comes, big money, that it flows to the one who accumulates it. And when I think about what you were sharing, Mariama, about all of the things that's in the river, he talked about one side of the river basically can be considered as, I don't want to say a negative, but he talked about on the one side is rich, if you will, and wealthy, and it will carry you down that part of the stream if you keep your mindset in that area. But then the other side flows in the opposite direction, and that's similar to what you were saying, and it will carry you to the unfortunate part of our life if we keep our mind focused on poverty. But the fact is that every person who accumulates great, great, great wealth stays on the positive wealth side of that stream. So I'm happy to hear you talking about the fact that your family now is going to consider doing that Better Investing Family Investment Club. But there was one other thing that you talked about, which I wrote down, and that was about the resilience. And I never thought about the fact that our mastermind group being resilient, because we have actually been together for a very, very, very long time. And the irony of a mastermind group, when you're in a group that's like-minded and like-spirited, okay, it never ends. And so back to you, Galen and Mariama, but I just want to that is resilience. The group will never end. We've never talked about quitting. We've never talked about stopping the group. We've never talked about an end date, because as long as we live and keep breathing, we want to be accountable. Who better than to be accountable with like-minded and like-spirited people? Thank you.
Hey, and before you go off, and before we bring Dr. Mariama in, talk a little bit about this annual meeting, because for me that was really a great, almost like a recharging of the power that I need in order to do some of the things that I keep talking about doing, right? In order for me to do these things, I need to be recharged, and the annual meeting is a great place to do that. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, I'm glad you used the word, Galen, recharge, because what I really want to encourage everybody to think about is the fact that when you're in a mastermind group, you may have 5, even 10 or 15 people in the group. Imagine you that one group is one battery cell. Now, what we've done is in the International Mastermind Association, which Mariama is also part, and Doretha and all of us are part, in forming years and years and years ago and continuing to build on top of that. But imagine when you have many mastermind groups, each representing a single battery, and you're bringing all of those batteries together in the form of power. I mean, think about all of the power you have with all of the different mastermind groups, with all of the different individuals inside that mastermind group coming together once a year. And so our International Mastermind Association annual meeting, this is not a conference. So there is no keynote speaker, there's no conference bags, there's no breakout. No, this is for your life. This is an annual meeting of your life where we cover every area of your life. And we have a written process that we ask you to go through and write up your life in writing before you come. It's going to be held in Boca Raton, Florida, at the Embassy Suites on January the 7th. That's Friday night. We just come together and we have a open mic, if you will, where everybody just comes and just share who they are and maybe one or two ahas they've gotten this year. And then Saturday is a full day. We start really about 8 and we go till about 3. And we have each individual, and that's, yes, with COVID safe. We have small groups at tables that are holding you accountable for the reporting of your annual goals. And I also want to give a shout out. He didn't know I was going to say this, but Dr. Peter James, your daughter has been phenomenal in actually leading our Sunday mastermind group on Zoom. She's just been a phenomenal blessing to so many of the other kids because she did her annual report already. Yes, I don't know if you know about that, but anyway, I just want to let you know. So what better thing can you do with your family? I mean, so I could go on and on about that, but what I'd like to do, Galen, is I would like to ask our guest to share her experience as being a part of that annual meeting. Mariama?
Okay, yes. So going to the annual meeting, I don't think I've missed one actually since 2008, even when I was in Geneva, I came home for it.
Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. Could you, in case our audience volume is a little low, I just want to make sure Mariama repeat what she said. She said she was living in Geneva and she would fly all the way to Boca Raton when we have some of our, not going to call your names, but you know who you are. Some people right here, and we'll see you in January. I'm sorry, Mariama, please proceed.
No, but yeah, I just wanted to say that because it's a fellowship. It's holding together. It's a happy feeling of sharing what you've been talking about, seeing the people, connecting with them physically, seeing the smiles on their face. And for me, what's one of the most joyful thing is the children. I call them children, but they're not really. The youth, because they go from babies to strapping young men. And to see them giving their report, to see them going together as a group, deciding and how to present, and to see the new ones sitting quietly, and they're absorbing everything. And that even if they leave with one thing, they know about intention, and they know about accountability, and they know that they can achieve whatever they set their mind to, especially if they put themselves in a group of people who will support them and encourage them. And for me, that's what the mastermind represents every year, is that reaffirming and enhancing or what we do on a weekly call by multiple levels, and elevating us. And I think that's one of the beauty and the genius of Mr. Hill was the principle he laid down and how he laid them out. They're all being validated by neuroscience, right? In that we need to, there's a phrase that was created, said, neurons that wire together, fire together. So neurons, if they're not wired together, they're not firing, and you won't get the result that you want. And I think the mastermind group provide that space for all of us who are neurons and who are doing all kinds of stuff. We've come together in an overarching purpose, which is achieving the goals. So the goals may be individual, but we're together. And so I think that, in many ways, a lot of what I'm seeing in brain science reaffirms even the layout of the book, the focus on the desire, the prefrontal cortex of the brain, making that decision, surrounding yourself with like-minded people, firing off together. All of those things are very critically important. And you feel that at the meeting.
Wow. Well, we definitely felt that in this conversation, Dr. Mariama. This has been absolutely amazing. Share with people, how can they get a hold of you if they want to get more of what you do applied to their life?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn, Mariama Williams. I'm also on Facebook. I run a group called Dr. Mariama's Breathwork Series. And I'm at mariyoga@gmail.com is a good place to get in touch with me.
Well, fantastic. Well, thank you. And, anyone listening to this, you've heard the insights and how well, this isn't a person who just lives this. She studied it. She understands why this works, and she can help you understand how to make it work in your life as well. Dr. Peter, share with folks how they can get a hold of you if they want to get more of your mind-shifting insight.
Yeah, that's good. Actually, I just was typing in what Mariama just said, neurons that are wired together, fired together. So now, who are the neurons in your life? Just asking. My name is Dr. Peter A. James. I am the high performance coach, helping you to shift your mindset. You can find me on any social media platform at Dr. Peter A. James. That's at DrPeterAJames. Looking forward to chatting with you all soon.
All right, Pagine. This has been a conversation custom built for what you do. So how can people get a hold of you if they want to get connected and have a powerful experience in their life?
Oh my goodness, this was such a great show. I know that neurons need to be sparked and fired up. So the best way to do that with me is, hey, get me daily. Join the Pagine.club, and every single day you'll get a message from me that covers of confidence and leadership and business and your own positivity getting into your ear and going, and it's short, sweet, just you want some of that energy to boost you up. Just go to Pagine.club. I am so excited. Thank you so much, Mariama, for being here. I have fallen in love with you. Join me at Pagine, Pegine.club. And how do we get in touch with you? And everybody, please check this book out. How do we get that, Anne?
You are my soul sister, Pagine. Thank you so very kindly. So we will put that link in the chat. Ann McNeil, yes. You can connect with me at annmcneil.com/coaching. But if you are interested in learning how to mastermind and have a better quality of life in every area of your life, you can check us out by clicking the link and investing in a mastermind group of your own and committing to create that mastermind alliance. Thank you.
Well, fantastic. Well, I love the show. I knew it was going to be amazing. I just didn't know how amazing it was going to be. And the thing that I really liked about this conversation was that it was just straight talk, right? We just had a straight conversation with Think and Grow Rich as the foundation for that conversation. And my name is Galen Bingham. I'm the leadership strategist. Another place you can go to get straight talk that you can't get from anywhere else is to check out my new podcast. I'm gonna have to stop saying new because we launched this at the beginning of 2001. But Whiskey, Jazz, and Leadership, we talk with leaders. We talk with Dr. Peter James has been on the podcast. We've got an episode with Miss Ann McNeil coming out here shortly, and we talk with other CEOs. We talk to other coaches. I'm gonna have to get Pagine to be on this conversation just so that you can hear straight talk about what it really takes to be successful. We also talk about the whiskeys to drink and the jazz to listen to, but what does it really take to be successful? And I would suggest that one of the things you need to do if you're serious about being successful is tune in to watch this show, listen to this show every Saturday morning at 8 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we share with you what you have to do to activate your life, to put power behind these goals and dreams that you talk about doing, and how do you make it a reality. Next Saturday, you're just gonna get us. It's gonna be a masterclass conversation. But every Saturday we are here for you, and I am just so excited that you are showing up to be a part of our conversation. So until next time, take care.